Today, the InWin 301, shoving 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Hey folks, today we are looking at the InWin 301 for our sub $80 case build. Now, this is a very compact MATX or MITX system, but I'm not going to get into the details because we're here to mod it today. So let's go ahead and look at what we're going to do to it. The first thing we want to do is tackle the cooling. A lot of these smaller MATX, cases with the sleek look, you're really hunting for a spot for good clean air, and you're really screwed unless the whole case is basically just mesh. So with this one, solid panels. They've done a little bit of work to try to make it easy for us to get air in here, and I think if you were just doing air cooling, it wouldn't be too bad. But when you try to put a radiator into this thing, things get kind of weird. The fan mounts in the bottom, with the radiator, you tend to run into clearance issues with your GPU. They've given us a 240 bracket in the front, but there's not a lot of clearance in front of it for those fans to grab air. It does feed off the side vent, which isn't bad, but we can do better. So what we're going to do today is to cut a nice big hole in the front of this case to let those fans just breathe a little bit easier. And this is where it comes down to personal preference. You can go in and cut a nice big rectangular hole, put some mesh in it, maybe some perforated metal behind it, and it's a great look and the fans will breathe great. You can also go in and cut holes to match the fans and their location, and actually that'll kill two birds with one stone, because you could make it to where you could mount that all-in-one fan and radiator setup to the case, get rid of the bracket on the inside, and maybe gain an inch or two of room, which wouldn't be a bad deal in a case this small. What we're actually going to do is cut a design in the front. Now it's a little more restrictive, but I do have this side panel that I can pull some extra air off of, so I'm not worried about it choking the fans. But I think it'll look really cool, and I'm going to throw some nice LED fans behind it to give it a cool look. So I guess let's go ahead and get into it and get this design laid out, and then we can look at how we're going to cut it and finish it up. The design I chose to go with was InWin's logo, which actually doesn't appear on the case anywhere, which is kind of funny. But what I've done is cut it out on a vinyl cutter. You don't have to go that far. You can use tape, you can use paper, any sort of stencil. You can hand draw it on the case, as long as you have a line to go by when you're cutting it. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to put this vinyl on and cut inside the vinyl, and that should give us our design. This does add another step because we have to use transfer paper to put it on, but it was something I wanted to try, so we're trying it today. The big thing with when we put this on is making sure we get it lined up right. Of course, we want to make sure it's square and straight, but I've also made it the same size as our fans, so I want to make sure that I line this up to where our fans don't sit above or below the design and give us a gap on one side or the other. So we'll take a little bit of extra effort making sure we get it in the right spot, and then we can start cutting this sucker. Now that we've got our vinyl down, we're ready to start cutting. Almost. I'm actually going to break the case down, take everything out of the inside, get this thing split to its two halves, and that way I can clamp it down to a work surface while I'm cutting on it, which is a whole lot safer. And then also, while I'm sanding and filing on it, I can kind of move that one piece around a whole lot easier than trying to move the whole case. So we'll get it all taken apart, and then we'll start on our cutting. All right, so we've got the design cut out. I think it turned out pretty well. The vinyl worked out fairly well. It's a little tender when you get tools around it. And you'll probably notice that I was using some air tools. And you're like, Dave, I don't have that stuff at home. How am I supposed to do this? Well, those aren't strictly necessary to do a job like this. You can easily do it with a drill, a jigsaw, a Dremel, and some hand files. The air tools just make it a little quicker on my end. They also make it easier to screw stuff up, which I did. And I'm going to have to go in and actually paint this case. Now that's something you should think about before starting this project. Know that there is a chance that you drag a tool across something, scratch your paint job, and you're either going to have to figure out how to fix that or repaint the whole case. So know that that's a possibility. Don't think of it as a problem, but as an opportunity to change the color of your case, which is what we now have. So that's going to be next time. We're actually going to leave this case in pieces. We'll do our prep and we'll paint the case. It's actually giving me some nice ideas for where I want to take this. It's actually going to be a bit different than what I thought in my head originally, which is kind of cool sometimes. But that's all I've got for today. So if you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you want to see what comes up next, which is obviously going to be a paint job, hit the subscribe. If you have questions or comments, hit me down in the comment section. And until I see you all next time, get out there and mod something.